Hello YouTube chess lovers, my friends, this is Gunjan here. Welcome to the 31st episode of Dirty Chess Tricks. Now, if you are a Sicilian Dragon player, then I have a good news for you, because in this video, I'm going to show you one of the high profile modern trick in the Sicilian Dragon mainline from the black perspective, which you definitely want to consider in your professional FIDE tournaments. The opening arises after the following order, that is e4, c5, knight to f3, d6, d4, c captures d4, knight captures d4, knight to f6, attacking e4, knight to c3, defending, and now the characteristic dragon move g6. Okay, there are a lot of ways we can achieve the main line. In this game, white continue first with bishop to c4, and after bishop to g7, f3, castle on the king side, bishop to e3, knight to c6, queen to d2, bishop to d7, castle on the queen side, rook to c8, and bishop to b3. So this is all pretty much known main line for years, and here the main move is knight to e5, which has a very good idea to come on the c4 and thus creating a piece counterplay on the queen side. And I think a lot of white players are prepared for that. But the move which I'm going to recommend in this video is a very tricky one, and that goes with a Topalov variation, knight captures d4. The black's big idea is, after bishop captures d4, he wants to continue with the move b5 and get immediate counterplay on the queen side. Here there are two major responses tried by the white. Amongst them, knight to d5 is not a good idea by white. The simple reason is, after this move, there are a couple of exchanges will happen. Let's say knight captures d5, bishop captures g7, king captures g7, and doesn't matter whether white take with the bishop or the pawn. The most popular choice over here is pawn captures d5, but after a5, black is looking for the move a4 and trapping the bishop. So white has to forcefully play the move a3, and after king to g8, I think even though the engine is suggesting that the position is roughly balanced, I quite like black here because black counterplay is already on the way and white's king side attack hasn't been commenced. So it is very clear that if white is playing for the win, he has to go for the other alternative, and that is h4 and launch a kingside attack immediately. Well, here obviously black need to counterplay on the queen side very fast, and accordingly a5 makes a lot of sense. So now again black is threatening the move a4 and nabbing the bishop, and surprisingly enough, white should give up that piece and continue his attack with the move h5. But how many of your opponent knows about this? The natural reaction here is, I should defend this bishop, and thus move a3 and a4 obviously comes into the picture. And if you check this position in online database, you will find out that this move has been played very oftenly. But this is exactly what black is looking for, and this is where our tricky business comes into the picture. By the way, if your opponent plays h5, then I have attached a sample game in the PGN which describe how black should continue, and I think in the most of the lines the worst result is at least black has a draw in his hand. So let's consider the other replies, that is what happens if your opponent plays moves such as a3 or a4. The first move I want to consider is a3. Well, this is not a good move. The simple reason is, after b4 we are attacking two spots, so white response is force. White has to take this pawn, and after a captures b4 and knight to d5, this is a bad version of knight to d5, because again the same transaction will happen, but this time this will only benefit the black. So the sample line can run like this: knight captures d5, bishop captures g7, king captures g7, e captures d5, and now king to g8. And the net result is, in this line black obtained the open a file, and this is more than enough to create havoc in the white camp. I reached this position against a 2200 rated player, where my opponent continue here with the move queen captures b4. In other words, he's saying that whatever I'm playing is a bluff and he can take my pawn and play for the advantage. Well, it's not that simple, and here I continue with the move rook to b8, queen to c3, and now queen to b6 happen. So this game is a model demonstration what sort of danger white face when white continue with this a3 line. Okay, my opponent plays the obvious move, that is h5, trying to get his attack rolling on the king side, but I think it's too little too late, because now black has some concrete threats with rook to 8. In this position, white cannot even touch the g6 pawn, because if he foolishly take h captures g6, then there comes rook check, king to d2, queen check, king to d3, bishop check, king to c4, and queen to c5, finished with checkmate in 4. So considering this, white has to put some defensive resources before rook to 8 happens. In the game, my opponent decided to continue with bishop to c4. His idea is, after rook check, king to d2, and queen check, he wants to block the check with bishop. Well, that's a plus side for the white, but the overall result is white is in the defensive mode, and that gives all the attacking prospects to the black. Here I continue with a very simple continuation, that is rook check, and now queen captures g2, attacking the rook, rook to d1, and after queen to g5, I think black is coming out top in all the variation. In the game, he continued with h captures g6, and after h captures g6, he tried this cheap tactics, that is rook to h1, but this is not going to create any problem to the black camp, because after queen captures d5 check, king to c1, and the simple move e5 not only diffuse all the white threat, but black is threatening the move rook to a8 and get a decisive advantage. Let's consider the second option, which I think is most common, what you should do against the move a4. Well, exactly here our modern amazing trick comes into the picture. This has been recently found out, and when I checked this position in online database, I found out that there are more than 25 games played from this position, where many title players has played from the white perspective. This natural looking move a4 is a big time disaster because of the following reason. Here black should take this pawn, and there are 3 different choices for the white. In fact, white should take this pawn, but we should see what happens if your opponent decline this and play moves such as bishop to a2. This is a course against a candidate master in a blitz game, where I continue with the move a3, attacking on b2, and white has to take this pawn, because if he played moves such as b3, then this bishop will not see a daylight for a long time. So that's not a good move. So in the game, my opponent decided to play b captures a3, but after the following continuation, that is queen to c7, so my idea is to play the move e5 and nab a piece. So my opponent decided to capture my knight. I recapture with the pawn, and he continued with the move knight to d5, attacking my queen. No problem, I continue with the move queen to c5, attacking a3. He defended with queen to d3, but after the move f5, I think black has a dream attacking position. My opponent continues his attack on the king side with the move h5, but then he has to face this move, that is bishop to a4, attacking on c2. Even though black is losing an exchange after the following continuation, which happens in the game, that is knight check, king to h8, and now my opponent grabbed the rook, but this doesn't stop any black attack, because now indeed black is threatening the move bishop to c2. So my opponent decided to play first h captures g6, and after f captures g6, he defended everything with the move bishop to b1. So at first sight, it looks like white has defended everything, and he's an exchange up. But the perception can be deceptive. And here, black has this wonderful move, queen to b6, threatening queen to b2 with a great disaster for the white. After some thought, my opponent played the move king to d2, but then he has to deal with this amazing blow, rook to c3, and white has to give up the queen. The game finished very quickly after queen captures c3, queen check, king to d3, bishop to b5 check, queen to c4, queen to d4 check, king to e2, and now bishop captures c4, and white should give up the more material with the move rook to d3, but he decided to pack up the bag immediately after king to e1 and queen to e3 as a checkmate. So it is very clear that white has to take this pawn, and it doesn't matter however it takes, black will give him the same treatment. The most popular choice over here is knight captures a4, but I have also included bishop captures a4 in the PGN. Okay, let's see what's wrong with the move knight captures a4. Well, here black will continue with the move bishop captures a4, and after bishop captures a4 and the move rook to c4, black is pressurizing the two spots and white cannot defend both of them. So for example, bishop to b3 is forced, and now can you see the next dazzling reply by black? Well, I hope you do and find this wonderful blow. Bam! So black knight is attacking the queen, and white cannot take this knight because then rook captures d4 is a deadly reply. So white has to forcefully continue here with queen to e3. Afterwards, black will continue with rook to d4. Now again white has two choices. If we take this knight, then after rook to b4, not only black is a clear pawn up, but a4 comes with a tempo with a massive attack on the queen side. So here white response is forced. White has to take this rook, but after that black has this wonderful resource, that is knight to g3. Again white response is forced. White has to continue with rook d to d1, because if we continue with the move rook h to d1, then there comes bishop captures rook. If queen captures, then knight to e2 and bye bye miss queen. So white has to take with the rook, but then after knight to f5, white loses an exchange and in fact the game. So rook d to d1 is forced, and after that black will continue with knight captures rook, rook captures knight, and now after the whole sequence, not only black emerged with an extra pawn, but a fast attack to boot on the queen side. Once again, to illustrate my point, I like to show you one of my game where I crushed an international master within few moves. In this game, I continue with queen to b8. So my simple idea is to play a4 and take on b2. So my opponent defended with the move queen to e4. I continue with the move d5. So neither way white can take this pawn. And amazingly enough, queen has to watch out for the move a4, and accordingly it has the only good move, that is queen to a4. Okay, black continue here with queen to e5 attacking b2. So once again he has to defend with the move c3, but then comes rook to b8, rook to d1. So white is attacking on d5, which can be easily protected with e6, and after king to b1 and queen to e2, white position is in complete zugzwang. After a long thought, my opponent continued with h5, but this is a big time disaster because of black's next shocking reply. Before I move on, I like you to pause this video and find out a move where actually white can resign the game. Well, I hope you find this amazing blow. Boom! So not only black is sacrificing a whole piece, but threatening a mate, and white cannot take this bishop because of the queen captures d1 as this bishop is pinned. So in the game, he continued with the move queen to a2, but now the simple move a4, and white resign as he has to move the bishop, and then devastation happens on the b2. Well, I hope you enjoy and learn this tricky main line, not knight to e5, but knight captures d4 and goes for the move b5, where many white players doesn't know the theory very well, and continue with the move h4, where we can launch a devastation with a5 and wins the game very quickly. Well, thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment on my video, and I'll meet you in my next episode very soon. Bye and take care.